Welcome to the podcast where we bring on remarkable people to tell their stories.
I'm Paul Gilman.
I'm Daniel Lance.
And this is Pod So One.
This week we have Gray Lane on to tell us about his experience at Virginia Military Institute. He actually got in touch with us after hearing Al Lester's episode 32. We also talk about him growing up in Virginia, his career in private accounting, and more. So here is Gray. So, hey, Gray Lane, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, it's a beautiful afternoon.
Or evening, actually.
Or I guess we're getting into evening.
Should we mention that we have a couple of Burks here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Gene Burke is in the house, not on the mic, but Gene has made the return to Paul's basement studios, and his daughter Katie has joined us because she has an interest in starting her own podcast. So for the first 10 minutes or so, Katie's going to join us, and we're just going to riff and talk about all kinds of fun stuff for the first few, to include what Katie's trying to do.
Welcome, Katie.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here, guys.
Nice to meet you, Katie.
Hi.
So, well, let's pivot to Katie's podcast idea first then. So, without revealing too much, tell us like what the idea is and what the premise of your podcast might be.
Sure. So I was inspired when my dad was a guest on the show. Yes, podcasts are a wonderful form of communication and storytelling. So I decided to explore that a little deeper. And I've come up with a narrative podcast idea.
Love it.
Thank you. It'll be old-timey radio vibe, you know. Probably a full cast of actors, ideally.
Because you're an actor as well.
Yes, I am.
So when you say old-timey radio and narrative, I think of War of the Worlds and how that was an audiobook that they released, and they made it sound like a radio program. Is that kind of something that you draw inspiration on?
Absolutely. I don't want to trick all of our listeners into thinking that the narrative is real. But we do want to be inclusive. I'm all about interactive performances and experiences. So I'm going to try to include our listeners and audience as much as possible. Okay.
And just for more context, you are a drama person, right? How would you describe yourself and your passion for drama and theater and stuff?
Sure. I grew up acting. Pretty much my entire life, I was sent to theater camps. It was a really great experience, and it was wonderful to be supported by my parents that way. I went to Shenandoah Conservatory and studied acting, got a BFA. But while I was there, I realized lots of people can act. It's not that difficult. But there wasn't enough content for all of these actors. Everyone was doing the same monologues over and over again in class, the same scenes. So I figured the world could use a little more content, some more story. So I really went down that avenue. I've been writing and directing different experiences, from interactive escape rooms to plays that I've produced in town. But I still act full-time on a regular basis with MCV. I'm a contracted actress there.
Oh, right. You're a, wait, I forgot what the term is.
Standardized patient.
Standardized patient, that's right. My roommate was a medical student. I think he's almost done now.
Jim?
Yeah, Jim.
Yeah, Jim's been on the podcast.
He's been on the podcast, and so
I don't think we're supposed to mention that.
We're not supposed to tell. Yeah,
the worlds can't collide.
Like
outside of the hospital,
the students aren't supposed to know who you are outside of
cut.
Right. There's a very strict rule in our contract that says we are not allowed to befriend or date the students until they are officially doctors.
Okay.
So I can't befriend Jim.
Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet. He's almost there, though. He's working on it.
Just don't tell me his last name, and I can still be his standardized patient.
It's vague enough. All right, last question. Not the last question, but where can people find you, or where, like in your performances or in your plays, like where in Richmond, what theater houses or establishments can they go to look for you?
You can find me in the records of the Firehouse Theater, but you'll probably find me and what I've done on Facebook, on my personal page, Katie Burke.
All right. I've been to Firehouse once, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a wonderful venue.
Where is it? I don't know where it is.
Do you know where the Camel is? You know where Lowe's is on Broad Street?
Yes.
Right across from Lowe's.
Got it.
Yeah.
What'd you do in... Oh, you can't hear me.
Yeah, we can
talking about
we can hear you.
We can talk about Lowe's
What'd you do in
downtown.
Firehouse?
Yep.
Yeah.
At the Firehouse, I was in American Idiot. That was a wonderful extended performance. It was a lot of fun. Great run.
That was the one that was playing at the Ford Theater the night that, what's his name?
Lincoln?
Yeah, Lincoln got shot, right? Oh, American Cousin, sorry, not American
That's
Idiot.
American Cousin.
Two very different productions.
But wonderful joke either way. No,
I'll be trying.
they can't all be winners, but that one was good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's cool. And I don't think that, theater live performances, especially in a small setting like Firehouse, it's a really small audience, can be replaced by Netflix and stuff. I think that there's still something unique that should be reserved and preserved about having these small, intimate live performances.
Absolutely. I think that you can get a lot more vibes, a lot more feeling from a live performance. I hope to do the same thing with the podcast, actually. I'd love to have a few live recorded sessions. It'd be nice to have an audience every once in a while to actually see the actors do their thing and become the characters. So it'll be a fun experience. I'm
Nice.
excited about it.
Yeah, very cool.
That sounds
Yeah.
interesting.
Thanks.
So a couple things real quickly. One is I think we've already named this episode because it's going to shift to gray here in a second. American Idiot's a fantastic title for this recording, this
Ooh.
episode.
And the banter begins.
Oh, it started.
I am American Idiot.
And the second thing is, I saw in the back of your car that you have some Star Wars references.
A Star Wars decal, yes. I'm very
Yeah.
proud of it.
Are you a Star Wars person, Daniel?
Last week, my girlfriend and I went to that drive-in theater to watch The Empire Strikes Back. Best movie ever. One of the best movies ever.
No, I am your father. It's the Mandela
That's-
effect. It's not Luke, I am your father. It's no, I am your father.
Huh.
Was that in Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, of course.
Right. So you're a Star Wars guy too.
Or is that in
That was Empire Strikes right at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, the first three, but
I'm pretty sure the line is, "No, Luke, I am your father."
right. And so it's no Luke instead of everybody goes Luke, I am your father.
Right.
It's no Luke.
Right. Got
It's
it.
the Mandela
You need that
effect.
con-
If you guys are familiar with that,
What's the Mandela
No
effect?
idea what you're talking about.
it's where everybody in the world thinks that it's something, and you're
And everybody's wrong.
right. Like E.T. Phone Home, he never said that.
I noticed that recently. I just watched that movie again for the first time in 20 years, and they never said it.
And the reason they call it the Mandela effect is because everybody thinks that he passed away in prison in South Africa back in the
Yeah,
early 90s.
he
But
became
he
president.
He
after
became
that.
president
Yeah.
of South Africa. So it's there's you can Google it, and there are
That's
a lot
awesome.
of things where people think this is what it is, and it's clearly not what it is.
Right. And that one was in particular pretty remarkable because he, shattered it for the whole world by becoming president.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Katie, I didn't mean to steal your.
No.
No, but Star Wars.
So why Star Wars?
Why Star Wars?
Yeah.
I find it to be a very inspirational world. It's a great world to escape to. While not all of the movies are masterpieces, I will say that the world itself is a masterpiece. It's an easy universe to expand upon. I mean, we have The Mandalorian now. There's just endless possibilities. And I really respect that about George Lucas and his ability to create that kind of environment, that universe.
Yeah, it's been going for 45 years.
Yeah.
-ish.
How much
Yeah.
of the new stuff do you think is George Lucas, and how much is it like Disney?
Oh, well, I have opinions. But what I know...
That could be another podcast, right?
Truly. What I do know, though, is George Lucas only had a very small hand in the latest movies, especially after being booted off
All
by
right,
Disney.
which is why they weren't as good as probably the first three. but-
Probably.
But then we look at the prequels, episodes 1, 2, and 3, and those were shoddy,
Those were heavy Lucas, right? He was
very heavy Lucas.
involved.
Yeah, the worst and the best.
Yeah.
Or Lucas.
He was trying to encourage the actors to perform like they would have in the 60s and 70s and 80s, where the style of acting was very dramatic and lines were delivered unrealistically. So that's why the prequels weren't such a big hit, because the acting turned out to look shoddy.
Yeah.
And Jar Jar Binks.
And Jar Jar Binks, unforgivable.
You think so? I mean,
Same with the Ewoks.
Okay, no, you can't hate on the Ewoks.
All right, sorry.
They're fuzzy and wonderful.
have you guys heard the Jar Jar Binks conspiracy, though?
Oh.
That
He had
that-
pictures of Lucas and
I don't know where you're going with that.
No, but he's not going anywhere.
We'll go ahead and
You know
pivot.
exactly where he's going with that.
So Jar Jar Binks, this super innocent, dumb, like adorable, weird reptile thing that can jump really high and do flips and stuff. He can jump like really, really high, almost as high to suggest that he might like have the Force and have the ability to like use Force
he's
jumping.
a Jedi, huh?
And more than just a Jedi, that he's actually the actual Phantom Menace that the whole movie is about. That he is the big dark Sith Lord behind the scenes running the show.
Because we've never seen the Dark Sith Lord.
Yeah, no. In episode 1, you don't know who is going to eventually become the Emperor, and so people thought that George Lucas had Jar Jar as the Emperor. But then I think that conspiracy theory got out, or somebody guessed it or something, and then George Lucas was forced to pivot and be like, "All right, well, let's use the guy from the Senate. Let's use
Oh,
Senator
that's so
Palpatine."
disappointing. It
Yeah.
would have been better if Jar Jar was the ultimate villain.
Yeah, because then it's just like a weird, what is this character even here for? Why did he get so much screen time? But
Yeah.
it would have worked out beautifully if he had been the ultimate Sith Lord.
Huh.
Yeah.
I feel like all Star Wars fans could say, like, oh, I wish it went this way or it should have gone this way. But truly, if you do have an opinion on where it should have gone, that means you're a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. The reason that I took my girlfriend to The Empire Strikes Back is it not only has the I'm your father line, but it also has the I love you, I know line. And the first time she said I love you to me, I told her I know.
Oh my lord!
Wow.
Did you really?
And,
Way
and
to
she
go.
didn't get the reference. Like, she was just like, she was
So
actually
you
really
said
angry.
that.
Like, it really pissed her off. And I was like,
Daniel, you were way cooler than I originally thought you were.
oh, thanks, dude. I don't know what that means.
He doesn't either. He doesn't either.
I don't either.
So, but
That's funny.
I was like, I didn't tell her that it was from the movie or anything. And then the scene happened. And, well, actually I did. I had told her at one point, but she was like, is that why you brought me to watch this? And I was like, yep.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. It's a classic line. Everyone's got to see it.
And then he got put into what? Carbonite or whatever
Yeah.
it
And
was.
sent off to Baba the Fett or
Jabba the Hutt.
Tatooine.
Jabba the Hutt, Bubba Fett.
Jabba the
Two
Hutt,
different
yeah.
characters. Yeah.
I messed that one up. Yeah.
So you were hoping she perfectly knew the reference, right?
I was hoping
Or,
she
or you didn't care.
No, like she didn't see it coming, and I was like, I was looking at her, like, here we go, he's getting ready. Leia's saying bye to him, so. And then when it happened, she like hit me and was like, "Oh."
She had already said "I love you." Like
This was
previous.
months ago, or maybe even more, a year ago.
It's unusual for you to bring her up. It's usually scary for you.
Yeah.
This poor girl, though, to say I love you, then to hear I know.
Yeah, well-
and the next step in that reference is Han Solo is engulfed in a bunch of steam and smoke. What is she supposed to
Right,
do? Like
right.
flash a fog machine at you?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I did follow it up with, like saying
you
it
too.
back. Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
well,
Good,
that was probably the proper response.
I was kind of going for like a little joke.
if you do love her.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Well,
No,
it
that's-
clearly worked out in the end.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
what's
sure
amazing
did.
is Katie and Gray met each other tonight, and they're both giving you grief.
Yeah,
good
or
times.
relationship advice, which is good.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Did we explain why Katie's here? We did, right? But she's also here checking out this particular recording because she's going to watch Daniel do his thing.
She did, yeah. Just watch me turn the knobs and stuff, and
Watch
Yeah.
and learn.
Yeah, sure.
that's what's up.
Cool.
yeah.
Do you want to pivot to Gray?
Yeah, let's get back to grade. I want to hear about you looking up to Paul, physically and literally and metaphorically as a child.
You said that earlier.
No, I know. I've always looked up to Paul as a kind of a
Like a dad?
I do have no, not a dad at all.
Like a drunk uncle.
Like a no, not even that. Like a big older brother. I have an older brother. Paul's older than him as well. He as well, but I don't know. As when we moved to Ashland when I was probably 5 or 6 years
From
old.
Waynesboro.
Correct, from Waynesboro, Virginia. We became friends with the Gilmans, and I always thought Paul was cool. And he was kind of a jerk at first when we were in like church and stuff. He was too cool for little guys. But then I don't know. We kind of families went on vacations together,
Yeah.
and we would do. Paul and I would work at his dad's office together, and we would drink beer together probably before I was 21.
Maybe.
But
And you guys like went to mansions together too?
no. I never hung out with
I don't know what
Paul's elite friends. My elite friends, same school, were what are you, 5 years older than me?
Yes.
What are you, 52?
Don't make me 52 yet. I'm 51.
All right. So yes, Paul's 5 years.
I'll be
older than I am.
52 later this year.
I'll be 47 later this year, so you're exactly 5 years older. Some of the guys that I mentioned who I knew at VMI were guys that I guess you said you play baseball with, and so my brother.
That started the whole Dyke talk.
Yeah, but to get back to Paul and I, my brother and Paul's sister, I won't mention any names, were in school together until Buffy started. Sorry,
That's called a Greco. I won't do X, and then he does X like 10
I didn't
seconds
mean to
later.
do that until she started going to private school as well. So my brother was friends with his sister, and we
There's like a family connection.
Yeah, we go skiing together, and his mom and I had, like I said, the flower business, and nobody was
my mom and your mom.
yeah, and nobody was like Larry's contemporary because, like I said, Larry was a general and a judge, so
Yeah.
you can't be any more achieving than that.
Right.
Like, so
Any more type A than that.
yeah, but he's such a nice man.
Yeah.
So like my father, the only thing they had in common with Larry is that they would probably drink a few beers and eat some pizza.
It's important. Those are important endeavors.
Right,
Pizza
right.
eating and beer drinking. Yeah.
But we would go to the beach together, and
We skied a few times.
we skied together. We went camping together. We did lots of things together as families, and a lot of times Paul would. I guess I don't know if it was my in between years at VMI, Paul would come, rouse me out of bed, like, get up, get your ass out of bed, pardon my language. We got to go cut some yards or cut some grass for some people, or whether we were getting paid or not, just do something.
I was getting paid.
Yeah, you were probably buying me lunch at Taco Bell. But yeah, he'd come over like 11 after he'd probably already cut 4 or 5 yards and tell me to get out of bed, and
Yeah.
then we would go out and just do something fun from like 10 a.m. until 4 p.m., like raking leaves or whatever we did. I don't know if you remember that.
Fun stuff, sure.
So we have Gene Burke here, who's on the podcast, and he was telling us when he was a kid, one of the things that they would do for fun is there's like a big hole, and one of the kids would get in the hole, and the other kids would throw rocks at the kid that was in the hole.
Classic.
And try to hit them in the try to hit them in the head. And I'm wondering if you guys had any fun activities like that you came up with together.
I don't think we
Not
did
like
anything
that.
that was.
No.
I mean, there were a few things that I would do with I never did it with Paul, but like I had a bow and arrow, and we would like try to shoot apples off of your brother's head or something. But it wasn't.
His brother's one eye now.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, he's lame now, but but nothing like throwing rocks at anybody. Like,
No, I threw rocks at my friends. I mean, we talked about it on the podcast.
we threw rocks at cars. We would climb into trees and throw rocks or acorns at.
We threw Nerf footballs at cars. We weren't trying to create any dents.
Yeah,
No,
throwing rocks at cars like that will break windshield and stuff.
It is true. It will, and I did break a windshield. I cracked one. And you remember Mrs. Keith? Am I allowed to name names?
Yeah.
Say whatever you want.
She was like a 5th grade teacher. And
Oh,
I remember.
you're talking about at Gandy.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I remember her coming to my mother's classroom at Henry Clay. His mother was a school teacher at Henry
Your mom and my mom taught at the same school. Yeah.
Right, for a little while there until they went and got their masters, and Brenda went on to get her PhD. But I remember Mrs. Keith one day coming into the room and saying to my mother's classroom before I left to go to Gandy to get on the bus from Henry Clay, and she's like, "Your son was throwing rocks and cracked my window." And
Oh, you cracked Mrs. Keith's window?
my brother did. It was John and Mike Hall and like Alex Cood probably.
Yeah, your brother's not tall.
No, he's shorter than I am.
Yeah,
and I'm very short.
He's 5.
I don't know, 6,
Call
7.
him 5'6". All of his friends were 5'6".
Yeah, all his friends were short.
He had no
But,
tall friends. It was weird.
But she, she came in and she was, And I remember my mother, she was always such an advocate for her sons. And she basically
mom was a great mom, yeah.
she was basically like, oh, get out of here. Like, get out of here. I'll talk to my sons and see what happens.
Don't you worry about my
Yeah,
sons.
don't worry about what happened to your little orange Yugo or whatever. You guys probably don't know what a Yugo is, but
A car.
it is
Yeah.
a car that was made in Yugoslavia, and I think it was hence Yugo. You remember the Yugo?
Yeah, it was like $900.
I was going to say, I was going to say, I think it was probably $2,000, maybe $1,800. This was like in 82,
Brand
83,
new. Brand
84, and I think that it had a shelf life of maybe 2 or 3 months
The remake of
if you change the oil.
the remake of Vacation, National Lampoon's Vacation. I think they had a Yugo or something.
Was there a
like
Yugo there?
So you were doing her a favor by
Yeah.
breaking her Yugo's windshield.
Yeah, and I don't think it was actually a Yugo. It might have been a Datsun or something. But
I don't know what that is either, but
That was my first car.
yeah,
Oh.
I remember the orange Datsun. They
Yeah.
called it the pumpkin.
The pumpkin car. Yeah.
Yeah,
nice.
I think it was sweet. It's a hatchback.
it wasn't like his elite friends who were driving Mercedes and BMWs, but
So would you say Paul was elite, or just he had
of course,
friends?
Paul was an elite athlete. He was an elite dice player. He was an elite.
Paul loves
In
it.
Ashland, he was elite.
Yeah, very small pond.
And now look at him.
You're right.
No, I know. But we would play football, whatever.
I peaked when I was 17.
I mean, what,
I mean, you went
were-
to UVA. It may have been after Rugby Road, but
It's all good.
yeah.
so yeah. So that's basically it with like Paul. I always looked up to Paul as a big brother, and I always loved Paul growing up.
That's awesome, man.
What's not to love?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, there are a couple. I mean, there are probably a few things I can come up
if you
with
really
to
had
do
to,
it.
if you really thought about it, yeah.
Yeah,
it'd be a
if you
couple of
tasked me,
things.
Daniel, to come up with some, I could probably do it.
Yeah, if I was like,
It might-
Gray, I need you to come up with some grievances.
I might need to email you, yeah, but
Yeah.
Do
probably
you
wouldn't
remember
do it today.
Tony Simondera, the episode with Tony?
Yeah,
Baseball
absolutely,
coach?
yeah.
He talked about this kid named Tad.
Yeah, Tad DePriest.
Right.
Yep.
He was really good friends with Tad.
Oh, no
Gray
way.
was, yeah. We both were. We both loved
We
it.
all of us were.
Yeah.
Like I sat in Paul's living room the night Tad died and watched what was that movie? Planes, Trains, and All. Whatever, it was John Candy, and I remember
Yeah.
crying like a baby in your living room because
We were all
that's
crying.
where I was hanging out.
Yeah, we were all crying.
This was 1992.
Yeah. And that, so Tad, he was a year younger than you, Paul?
No, he was
he was
Gray's age.
He was a year older than me,
Okay. Oh, so,
so,
you're
so
much.
4 years younger than Paul.
Okay. And did you.
Same high school though.
Okay. And how did you get to know him?
Ashland.
Okay. You didn't like play on the same team or anything? Like,
Yeah. Tad and I were both Ashland Dodgers, who always won the
Nice.
baseball little league.
Nice.
The first year I was on the Dodgers, my batting average was .000, and Tad and
Gene's a baseball guy. Gene's enjoys it.
yeah, that means I didn't get a hit. And
In Little League.
it literally means I didn't get a hit. I don't even know if I walked,
I was kind of.
which that wouldn't have accounted.
Wait a minute. The entire season.
Off?
What's that?
Foul balls at all?
No hit
Yeah,
by
I got some-
pitch?
I might have gotten some meat on the some bat on the meat. Of the ball, but
No hit by pitch. At some point, your coach had to say, "Hey, just lean
just
over
lean
the
into
plate."
it. Well,
Yeah.
guess who my coach was?
I don't remember.
It was Rob. No, it was Rob DePriest.
Oh, gotcha.
and Tad's father and Bill Bolander. I don't know if you know that name.
I know the name, but I don't know him.
In fact, Bill was on my team. We were kids, and he ended up going to VMI. I hadn't seen him since Little League, and just happened to see him when we were rats at VMI. But
It's funny you mentioned the Dodgers won all the time. I was a Dodger, and we won all the time. Like nobody could beat us. It was
like
weird.
nobody could beat the
There were
Ashland Dodgers.
There were 5 or 6 teams in the league, and
Yeah.
the Dodgers always won.
Wayne Sturgeon. Did you play for Wayne?
Yeah.
Was Paul? Oh, was John on your team and Hill?
We wouldn't let them play.
No, John and Hill were both Dodgers.
Then they were, well, yeah. they
After
were-
you, though.
No. When they were 10, maybe.
Right, but were they on your team?
I don't remember them.
Okay, so Wayne
These were-
Sturgeon is a
Another 5'6" guy, Hill.
right. Good golfer though.
Great golfer.
Scratch golfer. Wayne Sturgeon was an incredible little league coach. Like he was
really good, but the one thing he did that was different than every other pitcher when we would do BP, and I'm looking at Gene when I say this, because Gene's a huge baseball guy. He would throw as hard as he could from the 45-foot mound.
yeah, of course.
And if you fouled the ball off, you're like, man, I'm getting better.
Oh yeah, Wayne, yeah. And then at the end of practice, wouldn't he throw all the balls out over the fence and make everybody run get them or what?
I don't remember.
But yeah, so the Ashland Dodgers were incredible. Who's your team, by the way?
The Cubs, Chicago Cubs.
I lived in Chicago for 3 years,
All right.
and I used to go to the games all the time. In fact, one night I went to a game there, at the Cubs, and then got on the Red Line and went down and saw the White Sox play
Really?
the same night. It's not often they're in town at the same time.
That's unusual. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I didn't even realize there were two teams in Chicago.
The White Sox and the Cubs. Daniel.
No, I knew they both existed. I just forgot they're in the same universe.
There are also two other cities that have two teams.
Okay, here we go. L.A., New York.
Good job.
I nail
You
it.
got it.
Well,
L.A. and Oakland and New York, and exactly.
yeah, because they've got L.A. and New York for some reason have like a lot of each kind of sports team.
That's right.
It seems.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Paul.
You're welcome.
What was I going to say?
You must have been happy when they won.
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely. Was
Oh, yeah.
Down on my hotel bed.
If you want to hear the story of
Yeah, I was in the same hotel when my alma mater won the basketball championship.
if you want to hear the story of Gene.
What about the year before when they lost to UMBC in the first
Why
round?
would you bring that up?
Because I
Are you trying to end this podcast?
No, but knowing Thomas Leachman, he's great friends with Ryan Odom, who is the coach of UMBC.
Oh, wow.
And my dad and brother both went to Wake Forest, so they're big Dave Odom fans.
Oh, great. We would love to have the coach of UMBC on the podcast.
Ryan, I could
I
probably
speak for both of us.
You're certainly speaking for yourself.
Do you even know who he is?
No, but I know that UMBC was the 16th seed and upset UVA. And I think it would just be a
only
fun.
time it's ever happened.
I think it'd be a fun podcast.
Only time it's ever happened.
It'd be
UVA.
it would be really good if we could.
I grew up in a family that was a ACC family. Carolina, Duke, Wake Forest, all of those, but no UVA. Like, we hated UVA with a passion, so we would always root against UVA. And that night, watching that UMBC UVA game,
I turned it off.
it
8
made
minutes
me.
ago.
It absolutely made my heart sing when UVA lost that game.
How are you feeling the next year, Gray?
Not so happy because
And let me remind the world that UVA is going to end up having the championship for 2 years.
they are actually. You're right. Well,
Yeah.
they do because it didn't happen in March.
I
this
mean,
past
they
year.
win one title and then a pandemic. That's all it takes.
Yeah, after
Only
night
for 2
comes day,
years.
I guess.
Yeah.
Before we move away from Tad, though, I want to shout out that organization that his family started. I think it's called Tad's Kids.
That's right.
Yep.
It's a nonprofit, and they help with
Kids with cancer.
Cancer.
just yeah. So I think Googling it, you should be able to find it. But
It's been going up. It's been around
years.
for a really long time.
My roommate from VMI, can I use names?
Sure. Yeah.
Joe Brockman was a founding member of Tad's Kids, but I left Ashland and moved to Colorado to ski, and then moved from there to Atlanta, and from Atlanta to Chicago, and Chicago to Boston. So I was never around for any of that stuff for Tad's Kids, and it's a good organization. I see Tad's parents every week and talk to them about.
oh, you
good
still
stuff.
do?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Every Friday we.
Yeah, they're good people. Really
They're
good people.
incredible people. They live right next to my dad, where I am right now. I'm here in Ashland for a while because we're dealing with some issues with my dad's health.
Right.
But we typically, I've lived in Boston for 20 years.
I'd like to hear a little about that, but
So
go ahead.
this will mean something to Gray. That Bush sign over there, BUSCH. Mm-hmm. You see it, Gray?
I do. Yes.
That was Tad's.
Oh, really?
Tad's mom wanted me to have that.
Oh, wow.
Not sure what that says about my relationship with Tad's mom or my relationship with Tad, but there it is.
We'll let that speak for itself.
But the reason I have that displayed prominently down here is because of Tad.
Yeah.
So
Incredible.
I do have to ask, if the organization is called Tad's Kids, did Tad have any children of his own?
He did not.
did not.
He was 19 when he passed. He had just finished his freshman year of college.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
American. He was yeah, so I mean it's Tad's Kids. Sorry, not to speak over you, Paul, but it's
No, you're fine.
it's Tad's Kids to refer to the kids that they're trying to help. And I mean the circumstances of his accident were awful. He was driving a a van with kids from St.
It was a
Christopher's.
summer camp, yeah.
15 kids in the van, and he wrecked, and Tad was killed, and none of the kids were hurt.
Not a
Wow.
scratch.
Not a scratch on any of the
the
kids.
Wow.
Thank goodness. So I got goosebumps talking about it.
I just got goosebumps too. It's wonderful this organization exists.
Yeah, and it's still going strong. Yeah,
It is. They have
his
a-
friends have kept it going.
Yeah, they have a big benefit every year for it.
It's great.
That's great. Go donate, people, if you're listening.
I didn't realize you and the DePriest. You keep in touch with them from Boston?
So no, I hadn't, but just recently coming back down. I mean, I did forever after Tad had passed, and until I moved away, I had, and then I didn't, lost contact, and then now that I'm back in Ashland, we've gone over to their house every night at 5. I mean, every Friday night at 5:30 to hang out with Robin Barkley. So
Yeah, good. That's
it's-
awesome.
It's fun. She runs the bookstore Randolph Macon, and she's like Ashland royalty, and it's great. And they're just good people.
Yeah, really good people. For sure.
So you referenced VMI a couple of times, and I'd like to hear about how that got on your radar and how you ended up going to VMI.
It's funny that you asked that. Well, not funny because I have mentioned BNI, but I was talking to a couple buddies. We're on a text message stream with there's 4 or 5 guys up in Boston who went to VMI that live up there. One's from North Carolina, one's from Boston, or 2 are from Boston, and I'm from Virginia. And we were talking the cadets matriculated this past weekend. And we were talking about, my buddy Bill said, did any of you guys ever want to be service guys, like service academy guys? Like,
Careful here, Greg, because Gene's a service academy guy.
are you Naval Academy?
I am.
That's fantastic. That's impressive.
Thanks.
And so, if we were Annapolis or West Point guys, and that was, I went to West Point when I was a kid, probably 6 or 7 years old, and I was like, oh, that's cool, man. These guys are in college, and they wear those cool uniforms, whereas nowadays it's not that cool to be wearing a uniform and marching around when you're in college.
Especially in the summer.
Well, not the summer. We weren't there in the summer at VMI,
You
but
started in August, right?
yeah, August 15th.
Yeah, your rat year.
Oh yeah. But I remember at VMI, my August 15th, 1992, when the cadre kicked our door in, they were like, look at all you Academy reject pukes. Here we go. VMI is a very, very, very prestigious school, but it's nothing compared to the academies. And you have to be a rock star, not to pump Gene up, because I'm sure Gene's not a rock star,
I'm
but
not.
he's not just
I'm
kidding.
not a rock star.
But there's only 2 appointments, per state every year.
Well, per
congressional district.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Per congressional district.
And then
sorry.
there's president has what, Gene? One per
Yeah,
state or 2 per state?
something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not. So I remember saying to Bill yesterday or the day before, dude, I wasn't a rock star in high school. I went to high school here in Ashland at Patrick Henry. And you get to have straight A's and have soft cancer to have gone to
hard
be
to get
from
into.
Ashland to get. Yeah, basically it's hard to get into. So kudos to you. That's fantastic.
Thanks.
But I do remember going to West Point as a kid and saying, this is pretty cool. So VMI was kind of on my radar as a kid. Like I said, my dad and brother both went to Wake, and I considered going there or applying there. You wouldn't have visited there. I remember you
Yeah, I
told the
did.
story. I can't tell the story that you told about it, but you remember?
No.
Something you saw on a wall somewhere, but I'll remind me to tell you after
Okay.
this.
Yeah, you'll have to remind me.
But I was dating a girl from a private school here in Richmond, and I wanted to be a smart, good guy who didn't go off to UVA or Wake Forest and get fat and well, I'm fat now, but get fat and fail out of college. So I thought that VMI would be the way to go, and I started as a chemistry major so that I could become a doctor, and I thought that was going to be the
Nice.
way to become No, like any place you go, you can.
So wait, you went to VMI because of a young lady?
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember Molly? You know Molly very
Oh
well.
yeah. Okay.
You know Molly quite well.
So you went through 4 years of VMI
For her.
for Molly. Okay.
Yeah, but now that I have the best friends in my life, I wouldn't change it for the world. In fact, I got into Wake Forest, but I decided not to go there. And it was the right decision. But, so I went to VMI, and it was something that appealed to me as a kid, like going to West Point and seeing it. But obviously, it's not the same.
So when you were at VMI,
Miserable.
the whole time?
Absolutely miserable.
Really?
Oh, my Lord.
Are you proud to say that you went to VMI?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
All
I
4
wouldn't
years.
change it for the world.
I mean, did it get better? I mean, I've heard the first year is the rat line. I've heard about that.
The rat line, you're just so focused on getting yelled at and doing and learning and doing what you're supposed to do that it's not as bad as say like when you're a third classman, which is sophomore. Because basically they used to call third classmen rats with radios because rats couldn't have radios in the rooms, but third classmen could have radios in the rooms.
You mean like to listen to music or to communicate?
To listen to there was no communication, to listen to music. So third classmen were rats with radios.
Okay.
So I mean you had no third classmen almost got yelled at too. Not yelled at, but
Pretty austere.
So when you say
Well, it's
yelled at,
austere.
did the like elder 3 years just yell at the rats whenever they walk by? Like, what is that culture like?
So only first classmen are allowed to yell at rats. I'm sorry. Anybody can yell at a rat, but only first classmen are allowed to make them do push-ups and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
VMI works on the class system, whereas the Citadel, which I don't know if you're familiar with Citadel down in Charleston, works on the rank system. So, like at the Citadel, a third classman who is a corporal could tell a first classman who's a private that he needs to shine his shoes or his belt buckle, even though the guy's a first classman, meaning senior. But at VMI, the class system prevails. So the highest ranking junior at VMI could tell me, again, part of my language, like I was a shitbag private who never held rank, who, was proud of, being there as a senior. He could tell me to go, he wouldn't, but he could say, go shine your shoes or shine your belt buckle. And I could be like.
And rank wouldn't matter.
Rank doesn't matter at all.
Seniority.
Like, go, yourself, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I'm not going to shine my belt or whatever. But
why did you took pride in being a shitbag private? Why did you?
Not shitbag, but virgin private. They're called virgin privates. Guys who never held rank.
And is there a reason that you never went after rank?
It wasn't something that I aspired to do because I just didn't like all these guys who thought that. You get these chevrons on your shoulders and then you feel like you own the world. Like that was never me. And I was a member of a group called Rat Daddies, and it's not like my class, but it's all guys who go through school and never discipline the rats or anybody younger than you. And I was always a rat daddy. Like, and never yelled at. In fact, when I saw rats getting worked out or yelled at, I was always the first one to be save them and try to get them up and scurry out of here, go to your room or something.
What percentage of VMI is comprised of rat daddies?
Probably 2 or 3%.
Wow.
I mean, everybody else, you get yelled at so badly when you're a rat that the only thing you want to do, and Gene knows, you're a knob, or not knob, but plebe, right?
Oh, yeah.
The only thing you want to do when you get out of your first class or your rat year or your plebe year or your fourth class year is let these guys have it and yell at them. And that was never something that appealed to me. I always appreciated the guys that were like, hey, get out of here.
Yeah.
Hey, Gray, you have a small bladder, right?
I do.
So why don't we take a break? Daniel and I are just going to chat while you go to the bathroom. If that's cool.
Yeah. I don't
And then
need to go
I think Katie and Gene are ready to roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but we're going to keep recording. Do you want to keep recording?
Do you want to go into the restroom with me?
Yeah. No, that's not what we were talking about.
I know. I'm kidding.
I can.
I'm trying to make the editing burden light.
Oh,
as
it's
light
fine.
as possible.
I'll cut this part out. Actually, let me just mark down the time. It'll help
Hold
out.
on, Katie. I think wants to say some parting words.
Hit it.
I'd like to hear him.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for your attention, gentlemen. I just wanted to thank you for having us on the show. The Burks are always honored to, work with you guys. And
Awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks
we
for
look,
coming.
We look forward to your podcast.
You're very
Thank you.
interesting,
Appreciate
Katie.
that.
We wish you all the best. for that.
I
That's
do my
awesome.
best.
It's awesome.
Very cool. All right, so Gray, I think I told you about the podcast when you came back in town. And you checked out the website that Daniel has created, and you stumbled into episode whatever Kevin Flippin and Al Lester's episode was, and you texted me a picture of that episode and said, "Are you famous?" Which is hilarious to Daniel and me.
Well, hold on. Before you say that, I had known that you like Hutch Schmidt said, "Oh, you got to listen to Paul's podcast." And so
See?
occasionally,
See, look at
Hutch
Daniel,
Schmidt is
come on.
Yeah, you guys are known, and so occasionally I'll look you guys. I don't listen to them that often because we can talk about my buddy's podcast in Boston. I'm so busy at work, and we can talk about my work if you want. Long story short, is that occasionally I'll see what you guys are up to, and I just happen to see Al Lester. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you famous is the next text.
Yep.
And I think I said in East Ashland, we're famous.
Yeah, the eastern quadrant of Ashland.
Yeah, the northeastern quadrant.
Not the southwest quadrant per se.
Of
but-
Ashland, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
anyway, but he knew Al,
At
meaning
VMI.
that you were I'm going to use normal college terms. You
Sure,
were a senior
when he was a rat,
when
or
he was a
freshman.
But he was a baller, and you said, yeah, he was amazing.
He was the best quarterback that VMI's ever seen.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
ever.
crazy, and he was humble about it, right? I mean, he mentioned the fact that he'd started 46 out of 48 games, and the reason he didn't start the last two is because he had some sort of partial
Torn
tear,
meniscus.
or
Yeah.
right. And then you mentioned the running back's name. Was
Tommy
he
Haskins.
Yeah, was he your year? A year
He was.
after you?
He was. It's funny. He's my age or a year older, but he was a year behind me because I went to FUMA for a couple of years.
Yeah,
Fork
gotcha.
Union, and yeah,
I
that's
call
right.
it FU, Military Academy.
Yeah, that sounds right because it is FU.
Yeah.
the Fork Union
Right.
military, not the.
I understand. Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, Al, so when you were telling me that you knew Al and you knew Tommy Haskins because you were.
I was an equipment manager at VMI, and I was telling my wife this when she wasn't my wife. It was the very first time I ever had lunch with her, and she tells the story about don't tell girls that you were a equipment manager. You need to tell them that you were like the quarterback or whatever. But she didn't understand because we hit it off pretty well. I had some friends from WNL, and she was a daughter of Charleston, and I was her escort at the St. Cecilia Debutante Ball, which is the oldest debutante ball in the South or whatever, and it was
Whoa.
interesting or whatever. And we can talk about that if you want in a minute. And she was very interested in that because my wife is very interested in history and the Civil War and all that kind of stuff. Pre-bellum, antebellum, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And even though she's a Yankee, I think she probably had an affinity for the South. And with the big dresses that the women wore, and
The South was a unique place. back in the day.
absolutely. And she still tells a story about when the first day we ever had lunch. It was at the Omni Parker House Hotel in Boston. We both worked there, and she was like, "Don't tell women that you were a football manager,
Equipment guy.
equipment manager,
You're the guy who handed out the shoulder pads.
and the jock straps." And I didn't hand out the jock straps, but little did she know that at VMI, anything you could do to worm your way out of like military duty or like having to march or having to be responsible.
You became that kid to avoid parades and
And not only that, I got paid $6.42 an hour.
which was a lot of money back then.
Of course, I think I got 15 hours a week.
Nice.
I think I made $60 a
Nice.
week.
Tommy Haskins may deny that he had a fumbling problem, but you were telling me that as the equipment manager, you did something unique to his shoulder pads.
So for I think Paul and I were having a conversation over the phone, and Tommy was incredible, man.
Well, Al mentioned, like, It kind of just handed the ball off to Tommy, and Tommy did his thing.
Well, but Al had a good presence in the pocket, and he also was able to throw the ball pretty well.
Yeah.
But Division One, Double A, you don't throw the ball that much. You run the option, and you just whatever. So Tommy had fumbled, I think, 2 of the previous 3 games or 3 of the previous 4 games we played in. So guys wear these, I think lacrosse players wear them as well. They're called spider pads, and they're basically like pads that you wear under your shoulder pads, just so that they're a little more comfortable. So his spider pads, after they get washed, and my buddy and I were good friends. We weren't really equipment managers. We just went to hang out and talk to Carlos Hazlett, who was the equipment manager, and just like shirk our military duty and maybe wash our own towels and stuff and not have to throw them out with the regular laundry. It was just a nice way to get away from barracks every day.
Yeah.
We were totally shirking whatever we could. We were getting out of whatever we could. And Carlos threw his spider pads into his locker. Like, I don't know if you've been you obviously have, probably into a college football locker room, but it's pretty nice. And there's the practice locker room, and then there's the players' locker room, or whatever. And so they'd come get their pads or whatever. And so after they get washed, they get thrown in there, they grab them, go upstairs. And I grabbed his spider pads out, and I took an ink pen, and I said, "No fumble, Tommy Haskins." And I wrote it on the inside of it in a place that he would have never seen it. And he didn't fumble for the rest of the season.
Love it.
Whoa! And he had been fumbling before that. That's
3 out of
what
4.
prompted you.
3 or 4 out of the previous 5 games, or 3 out of the previous 4 games. And thanks to me,
Man, you got a power, dude.
Can you write stuff in my house?
I already have.
You'll never find it.
It's all good stuff.
I hope it's good. Yeah.
I was gonna say it's all good stuff. I would never do anything that's
You never abuse your power.
Yeah, your powers are all.
Yeah, nothing malevolent. It would never be anything that would. I mean, I can.
Yeah, but you're a good guy.
So I did that to Tommy's pads, and he didn't fumble the rest of the season.
It's pretty cool.
It was fun. It was a fun thing to do because we got to travel, and like on game days, we didn't have to.
Game days were on Saturdays. There were also parades for VMI.
Parades
guys.
and whatever. We didn't have to put on uniforms. In fact, like on game day, I could just get up in barracks and just go down the field and eat, the catered fried chicken lunch and coleslaw from, up in the press box.
Yeah.
Like, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to act like I was a cadet. And
So really, when your wife was saying that you shouldn't tell women that,
she didn't realize.
really women should, when someone tells them they're an equipment manager, they should recognize the brilliance.
They should
the
ask,
cunning.
were you a cadet at VMI? Because if you were, that's impressive.
Yeah.
So if my wife was here, she would tell you that she's impressed by it now because she's been there a couple of times and said, "Oh, now I see why you would have wanted to get out of this crap."
Yeah.
But you have to date a few times before that happens, where she realizes how golden it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I was a regular rat. Like, I didn't worm my way out of my rat year. Like, I did all the hard stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good experience. It was, I have the best friends of my life. In fact, there's 17 of us that are on our text message that we've had going on for 5 years. And
It's cool.
That's so cool.
Some days I'll get out of a meeting because I have it now where I turn off the alerts because it's just nonstop. And I might get out of a meeting and there's 100 text messages from these guys and it's like delete. Just like there's no even
Yeah.
point
It's
to read
too
them all.
much, yeah.
It's just too much. But to have these guys in my life is incredible. In fact, last Tuesday I was down in Williamsburg and hung out with 5 of them. I hadn't seen them in 15 years. And
Yeah,
it was like
that's
yesterday.
cool, man. Yeah. That's awesome.
It is.
So, hey, all right, you are an accountant,
I am.
and that's been your career
Correct.
since you graduated college, right?
That's right.
And I assume you were an accounting major.
I was not an accounting major,
Oh.
and it's funny that you, I guess, asked that.
I assumed you were.
I thought you said chemistry doctor.
That's how you started.
So I started as a chemistry major, and then realized, wait a minute, VMI is not going to make me become a doctor. You got to have
Go to medical school.
Yeah, you got to have this. You got to have some. You got to have some sense on your head. You know.
Yeah,
I didn't have it.
They don't have a magic potion.
Right. Like you're going to be a doctor.
Yep.
But so I was like, this isn't for me. So I switched from chemistry to civil engineering,
Oh,
which VMI is known for their engineering, their civil, their mechanical, and their electrical engineering programs.
so like building roads and bridges and
Yeah, that's civil. I did okay. I did the surveying, and I'm very proficient, I should say, in math, calculus, and differential equations, all that kind of stuff. I always picked up and did pretty well in all the maths. In fact, I have a math minor from VMI from all the math that I took.
Nice.
Before I switched to Ken, but I couldn't do the physics. I hated it. I just couldn't do the physics because it was too much theory. And
You're not a big fan of Schrodinger's cat?
exactly, yeah, that's exactly right. What was your major at UVA? English,
History.
history. Okay,
Yeah.
but
It sounded like you were being a little belittling when you asked that question.
I was. I totally was.
Yeah.
But I was kidding. I couldn't do the physics, so I switched my major again to and this was like when I was a junior or maybe late sophomore.
yeah.
I switched it to economics with a minor in business, and just happened to get a minor in mathematics. So my major's in economics.
Okay.
And I took some accounting classes and hated them. Thought it was stupid.
Thought it was stupid because the math was too easy?
Well, I just didn't understand the balance sheet, which I love now. I'm all about the balance sheet.
You and all the accountants out there.
Yeah, debits and credits were fine. It was the balance sheet, the assets and liabilities that didn't.
That's where the real action is.
Well, it's if your balance sheet isn't clean, then your profit and loss statement isn't clean.
All right. I'm going to need a breakdown of all that. Balance sheet is assets and liabilities.
And owner's equity.
And okay, so tell me what you didn't understand and why you thought it was stupid, and then why you now think it's the best.
Well, so basically, I didn't know you had a tattoo.
Two of them, actually.
Where's the other one on your?
Right there.
Oh, nice.
I called
Do you
him
have any
my...
tattoos?
He's not dumb enough to have tattoos.
He might have some, maybe on his right.
Yeah, I'll plead the fifth.
Wow.
Oh, well, he does have tattoos then. 'Cause if you don't, he's not going to plead the fifth.
Right.
He's
You
just
don't-
going to
you
say
don't
no.
have-
He's going to say no. If you don't have it, you just say no.
Yeah. By the way, it's like anybody who says plead the fifth in court. Oh, you're guilty.
Oh, yeah, right? Oh, I plead the fifth. Oh, then I know the answer to the question.
Thank you for answering the question.
Right. Thank you for answering the question in the affirmative that you're guilty. What were we talking about? Oh, so the balance sheet is so the profit and loss statement are your revenues minus your expenses equals your profit and loss.
Right on. Okay, I understand that.
So that's your profit, and then below that you can have what's called EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax.
Some kids call it
depreciation.
EBITDA. Some kids say EBITDA.
I saw that on a license plate once.
Oh,
That would be a nerd accountant who had that.
super nerd.
Yeah.
And that stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So basically, depending on what type of company you are, whether you're a LLC or S corp or a corporation or whatever, there's different tax laws. So there's different things that you would report your income on.
Okay.
It may be your gross operating profit, which is strictly revenues minus expenses. It may be your revenue minus expenses minus your depreciation and taxes and depreciation, but not minus, or maybe add back in your principal interest on your mortgage. Oh, there's so many different rules in accounting; it's unreal, and so many different ways to present your income to the government. And that's why everybody talks about how some companies are tax shelters and some companies are not doing
Right.
what they should, and they're actually absolutely doing the right thing as to how they're set up. But it may not.
But you're talking about GAAP, not RAP.
Correct.
Yeah.
GAAP is generally accepted accounting practices.
Okay.
And so basically, you have the income statement and then you have the balance sheet. So the balance sheet is where you have the assets and liabilities plus owner's equity of the company.
Okay.
And I never understood that when I was in college because I didn't give a fuck. Like I didn't try to understand it because I knew I wasn't going to be an accountant. And then I started working for hotels and understood it and found out that it was pretty cool and interesting, and that's all she wrote.
So
yeah.
our 42 listeners, I'm going to say, probably all left the episode when we started talking about accounting.
You can tell how many listeners are on right now?
We have educated guesses.
Oh, this isn't live though, right?
Definitely
No,
not
it's
live.
not live,
No.
but when they're listening to the recording, when you started talking about P&L.
Yeah, so whatever you need me, right. If
No,
you
it's all
need me to
good.
start talking about like drugs or porn stars,
Right.
that's more interesting
Yeah, because that's
stuff,
also
right?
part of your life. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like that's more interesting stuff, right?
Well, and part of your life, yeah.
Right.
That's what you do in Boston.
That's just your day in, day out.
It's accounting, porn stars, and drugs. Yeah.
Right.
Counting by day.
So it's something that I enjoy doing, and I've done it for a long time, and I've done it for three different companies. I've only worked for 3 different companies since college. Omni, a pretty decent sized eye doctor group out of Boston, and then this company I'm with now.
And I'm assuming, a CPA.
I'm not a CPA.
Oh, really?
I've done my entire life in private accounting.
Okay.
So public is CPA.
As it relates to like publicly.
Right. I've always done what I do for a private company.
Okay.
And we, obviously we hire CPAs to audit us, like PwC and
Right.
one of the big. It used to be Big 7, but now it's Big 4. And I've never needed to. I started my accounting career in hotel finance. Never needed a CPA. The CPA probably would have worked well when I was in healthcare because we were a very large practice in Boston with lots of expensive equipment. Multi-million dollars worth of equipment that you have to amortize and depreciate.
Which means
correctly.
Is depreciation the same thing as amortization?
It is. Depreciation is equipment, and amortization is basically a dollar amount that you've hung on the balance sheet for. Say you spent $30,000 for a, I don't know,
Like a company car, and then the car depreciates.
not a company car. So depreciation is something. It's an actual physical asset, like a piece of equipment.
Okay.
Amortization is like a cost that you would amortize over a certain amount of time. So if you're paying the Greater Boston Convention and Visitors Bureau $50,000 for a 2-year subscription,
Yeah.
you would take that $50,000, divide it by 24, put it on the balance sheet, and expense 1 month of that each month
Okay.
over the life of the subscription.
Okay.
So that's amortization, and depreciation is equipment that you
So
depreciate.
amortization sounds like a good thing. It's like a liability or a cost is like decreasing over time.
So it's an asset. It hangs on the balance sheet as an asset because it's an asset to the company that you've have on your balance sheet, and then you expense it each month.
Okay.
And credit the asset, and then the asset, which is in a debit position, goes down to zero.
Okay.
I mean, this is all accounting 101. But
So the 3 listeners that
crap.
might have
Right, I was gonna say they've all hung up now.
Might have hung on or are gone.
All right. Well, now that they're all gone,
So it's just the 3 of us now.
since it's just the
I
three of us.
apologize, guys. Now we can talk about the porn stars and.
Well, before we get to the porn stars and the drugs, do you have like what would you say is like the beauty of accounting, or like what really makes you love
And
it?
also talk about like every accountant I've ever run into is
It's a nerd. It's like a.
introverted. We'll call them introverted, nerdy, sure.
It's funny you say that, Paul.
And I'm not trying to give you like you're super cool, like the super
No,
cool.
I take it.
accountant,
I take
Brent
it as
Lane.
that. I take it as you trying to tell me that I'm super cool. So I appreciate that.
Sure.
The first job I ever had in hotel accounting, I remember the hot sales manager or director of sales was like, I was the director of finance controller at this hotel in Chicago on Michigan Avenue, and she's like, like we'd had our first like EOC meeting. I was brand new. She's like, "You're the controller?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "You're too cool to be a controller." And so, I've gotten that my whole career. Like I don't have the accounting mentality
Persona.
or the persona. I guess that's probably what it is. And people, I think a lot of the accountants that I've worked with, they're all like anal and like, "Oh, well, you didn't," you know. As long as you're not like stealing or as long as you're
Embezzling, yeah.
right, as long as you are doing accounting by generally accepted accounting practices,
Yeah.
you can do whatever you can.
Yeah, you're good.
You don't have to be a jerk. And I remember when
Yeah, you
Kayla and
can-
I worked at the hotel together, like everybody, she was in sales, and everybody wanted to come to me instead of my boss because she was a typical accountant. They wanted me to approve their expense reports because
You would understand.
I would look at like, yeah, you have a
the
couple
porn star
beers.
expenses.
Yeah, you know, and the ones that you got to get to put them in the, and so
You're like the rat daddy accountant.
Yeah,
I was that's Daniel. That's
Daniel.
incredible.
That's the 2 to 3%.
That was the best.
2 to 3% are rat daddies at VMI. 2 to 3% are extroverted.
Rat
cool
daddy
accountants.
accountant.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
RDA. You're the RDA.
I'm going to tell my buddy.
that just made the 17-person group text. There's no question to make.
Correct. I was
Yeah.
going to say Russell Moore. He's probably shouldn't have said his name, but he is the
Was he a CIA guy?
no, but he's the head of PricewaterhouseCoopers here in like the East Coast, basically.
Oh, very cool.
And
Really? Is
yeah.
he a rat daddy accountant?
yes.
Oh,
And so
very nice.
he would.
Where does he live? Somewhere.
Oh, I know where he lives. He
Well, you don't
lives in-
tell us, but he's on the East Coast. Can we get him here in person on the podcast, or do we have to Zoom him?
tonight, right now.
No. Whenever.
No, you could absolutely get him here. He lived. You know where the far west courses for CCV are?
Yeah. Okay.
He lives out there.
Got it.
Mansion.
I mean, he's the East Coast PwC guy. I mean, come on.
There's a house and like, oh my lord.
Yeah.
I
So
thought I did all right.
Yeah.
You know,
So you're just more personable and people come to you.
I think it
for
is more
their-
personable, and like people get afraid of accountants because they're like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah." Like I've never been that way. Like
Yeah.
like you said, rat daddy.
Rat daddy accountant. I like it.
That's very cool. And
Well, I'm a very very nice man, Daniel. And in fact, I'm a joy to be around. If you can't tell already.
you took the words right out of my mouth.
I thought I could tell that that's what you were going to say.
Well, I wanted so people think of accounting as boring and stuff, and you talked a little bit about what makes it interesting, but I don't know if there's anything else that's like, you know, over the years and years of accounting that you've done, something about it that's like people don't get at face value.
No, that's a very good question, and there are people called forensic accountants who go back and look at like transactions from years and years and years, and I don't know if you remember the Enron situation. You obviously do.
I read a couple books about it. Yeah.
That, and obviously some things about cooking the books during the 2008 fail,
Yeah.
and that was basically just like it's called cowboy accounting or cooking the books. I mean, it's basically
Unadulterated cooking. Yes.
right. It's just basically. And so when you do that for years and years and years, it's hard to find. Obviously, it was easy to find in the situation of Enron or in 2008 when the entire market failed due to subprime loans. But there was a situation, obviously I'm not going to mention my company, where I started looking up some stuff and found like just some weird like entries. And yeah, it's just an interesting thing where you're like, wait a minute, you would never make this journal entry that's debiting this and crediting that. And I know that sounds not interesting to you guys, but like when you see it, you're like, oh, that's not an entry that makes sense. And then you start digging and digging and digging. And yeah, and I found one of those situations one time with one of our assets, one of our companies that we work with, and it ended up opening a huge can of worms. But yeah, I find it very interesting and therapeutic to like be able to balance to certain numbers, you know, bank reconciliations and cash and, you know, everything balances to the penny.
Yeah.
That's what accounting is about. When
Getting
comes
it
to-
perfect.
When it comes to cash, yeah. So that interests me.
Yeah. How of all of the companies that have gotten caught cooking the books, doing that kind of stuff, what percentage of them got? Sorry, of all the companies that cook their books and have manipulated them, like, what is your intuition? What percentage of them have got caught, and what percentage of them have been able to do it successfully without being detected?
So that's obviously a question that I can't answer. But with Bernie Madoff, he was hoping that I'll take one. That he wouldn't get caught in his Ponzi scheme. That's what every guy who's cooking the books is always hoping. He's always hoping that, oh my God, after I make this entry, I don't have to worry about this entry again until next month. I don't have to worry about cooking. It's a very, very, I'm sure it causes lots of anxiety to whoever's doing it. Because obviously that you're not presenting the asset for what it actually is.
Right.
Can you get by? And so percentage, I mean, I couldn't even guess. Like the biggest ones were obviously Enron.
I think they were eventually all caught.
You think eventually they're all caught?
Eventually they have to be, because
If you get to a certain size, the number of audits, the depth of the audit, it's going to catch it.
Yeah. Okay.
So when the guy feels nervous putting in something he knows is bogus, he knows eventually it's going to be discovered.
It's like starting a clock.
And his hope
that's
is that it's not going to be on his watch that he gets caught. You know what I'm saying?
And it doesn't get tracked back to him.
Well, it can get tracked back to him, but if he's no longer with the company, it's fine as long as he wasn't stealing money. If he's stealing money, then that's a different situation.
Okay.
But basically with the assets that we manage, it would be like overstating revenue, and understating expenses, or the notorious thing is if your balance sheet's not right, then that means your profit and loss statement isn't right. So if you're showing a bunch of assets on your balance sheet that aren't real, then it's just not real.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
And then that can be damaging because, especially if you're publicly traded, you have a bunch of people.
Or even if you're private.
Not even publicly traded, but if you've got a lot of investors or partners that are in the business who want to know. Sorry, not to speak over you.
No.
But it really doesn't have anything to do with whether it's a publicly traded company or not. It's all companies, all hotels. That's what I do. But all owners of assets want their managers or whoever's controlling the books to be audited, and they are.
Yeah.
And if they
business is a lot about trust and confidence, right?
it is, of course. And
the Cowboys like Enron or Richard Scrushy, the Health South guy. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Do you remember that one? Mm-mm. That was the guy that wasn't he like going to build the next best thing for VCU, the big
I don't know. I watched a documentary about him.
Richmond guy?
Yeah, Health South. Yeah, it was Richmond.
He was in
wasn't
Richmond?
it?
I mean, I thought it was national. But he was just, it's a great story. It's just the CEO who I think is like a compulsive liar who cooked the books and told all of his CFOs to cook the books. And eventually it all caught up and the company collapsed and there was trials and charges. And the CFOs
That's
all...
Enron.
Yeah, and the CFOs all said, like, he kept telling us to fix the numbers, to make the numbers right, to fix the numbers. But he hired a really good legal team, and it was Alabama is where it happened. It was Birmingham, Alabama. He was like he was the darling of Birmingham because he embodied the American dream. He started out, with not a lot, and then started this healthcare company, and then just made shit up. And investors loved it, and he just kept on making the earnings look good every quarter. That's why I was saying publicly traded, but you're totally right.
Right, like and you can have investors. You can have hundreds of investors in a private company who, at some point, are if you're overstating revenues or whatever, or revenues lead to overstated profits. If they're not getting distributions based on their equity buy-ins, then eventually that just comes. You can write a journal entry that says, yeah, this is what our profit is, but if you don't have the cash to back that up, and that's what happens, is that you just don't have it comes to a point where you don't have the cash to back
And eventually
up
that will be discovered.
Correct.
For sure. So weird transition here. You and I have not, I don't think I've ever asked you this question. Where did the name Gray come from?
My grandfather, Shotwell, who you've met probably several times, my mother's father.
From South Kakalaki, right?
Spartanburg, South Kakalaki.
Yeah.
In fact, Brenda used to go there with my mother a couple times.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever went. Probably
I did.
not. Did you really?
What is South Kakalaki?
South Carolina.
Right on.
There's a North Kakalaki.
There's a North Kakalaki.
No way.
It's just right above South Kakalaki.
Dude.
Just north of
Yeah,
South Kakalaki.
and then south of Virginia. But my grandfather's brother, his name was Graves, Graves, Graves Shotwell. He grew up in Henderson, North Carolina, and went over to the war and was killed in Pearl Harbor by
Yeah.
after the war.
Oh.
Not after the war, but after the bombing or before the bombing, he was killed by friendly fire.
Oh, that's awful.
And so it was my grandfather's brother, and his nickname was Gray. So
Oh, wow.
I was named Gray.
It's a badass name.
Thank you.
Graves Shotwell.
Graves Shotwell, yeah.
And
I like
Gray.
Gray Lane, yeah. Well, I thought you meant Gray Lane.
Yeah, well,
Gray Lane is
Gray Lane gets
amazing.
second
That's more of a
place.
badass.
By the way, Gray,
Come on,
Gray-
Daniel.
Gray Lane is also the name of a soap opera actor. Not really, but I mean, could be. Gray Lane, the soap opera guy, or
Porn star.
Porn star.
It's a
Yeah,
really
correct.
great kind
That's
of
correct.
entertainer name. Yeah.
I get that a lot. I talk to a lot of people in business, and they say, "What a great name," and I say, "Correct." I'm just kidding.
yeah, yeah.
No, I always say I thank them.
I know.
But I'm very, I might sound like a jerk on this podcast, but I'm actually a very nice.
You are a nice guy.
and a joy to be around.
So, look,
I can tell, dude, that you're a joy to be around.
thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, I'm saying it right now.
Daniel doesn't make shit up.
Thank you, Daniel.
Paul
Hey.
was like, this guy's gonna shit talk and make you cry, and
I never said make you cry.
He's-
I did say shit
Hey,
talk.
He's
hey, call off the cage match, all right?
You two, wait, there's some bromance brewing here.
Yeah, I mean,
Paul set up a cage match between us before we even
No,
had
no,
the podcast.
no. It was not my idea.
it was mine actually.
Yeah.
I was like, listen, you tell
He
Daniel.
said cage match, and I said
That he rolls?
jujitsu. Yeah.
and I was
What-
like,
what
okay,
about-
never mind.
I like that you say roles. Like, not a lot of people. Well, anybody that's not in the jujitsu world, they say like spar or something. But
That's
you
what
roll.
I say. Yeah.
yeah,
He also wears a hat that has a soccer team on it.
from England. Hey, but what about me? Did you think cage match when Paul was telling you about me? Why were you like, I should fight that guy?
Just because maybe I was jealous that you and Paul had a relationship. I'm just kidding. No, Paul was told me that you grew up in different countries or whatever, and I was like, yeah, I'll just
Kick his ass.
I'll just kick his ass after the podcast.
Yeah.
But I do not want to kick your ass.
Yeah, I think that there's a real affinity and affection.
Right.
Yeah, I
really,
feel like
yeah.
we got a friendship.
We could go out for a blizzard or something afterwards.
Yeah.
That's Dairy Queen.
It
Oh,
is.
that'd
It
be
is
great, dude.
Warren Buffett, I think, still owns Dairy Queen.
Does he really?
Yeah. Or
Let me ask you
did at
guys,
some
do you
point.
think anybody has ever in the history of the world ordered a cheeseburger from Dairy Queen?
I've never seen it.
Right. Correct. No one has. That's the correct answer.
Yeah.
It's only a blizzard or a twisty cone.
Yeah. Nobody orders.
Nobody's
anything
got the
else
cheeseburger. In fact, if you order the cheeseburger,
They don't know what to do.
It'll blow up. They don't have.
They don't know what
They
to
don't.
do.
They don't have the cheeseburgers, and it'll literally blow up.
You'll wake up a year later and like not remember anything.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe in a foreign country. Yeah. Hey, so, Gray, you and I know each other, I think, mostly because, well, we grew up in the same town, but the relationship, your mom and my mom.
That's right.
And your mom left us way too early. How old were you when your mom passed?
19.
Wow. So you were at VMI.
I was a freshman at VMI. I was a rat at VMI when my mother passed away.
It was awful.
It was 1993, June 12th, 1993. It was 364 days before OJ and Al Cowlings ride down the Los Angeles freeway in the white Bronco.
Yeah. Seems like
Are you familiar with that?
OJ?
yeah, the whole
Al Cowlings and OJ in the white Bronco?
No. Is that the?
This is his
The
way
murder?
of avoiding talking about his mom.
No, I'm not avoiding it at all. I'd be happy to talk about it. Love my mother. Like
Your
I
mom was
said,
an awesome lady.
Well, I was a mama's boy too, even though I'm not like a mama's boy.
Yeah.
But like,
I'm a mama's boy too.
I'm absolutely a mother's boy, and
Yeah.
like I was telling you about the teacher the other day. Like she wanted to come in and say, "Your boys, your boys, your boys." And
Right.
my mother was like, "Fucking back off." bitch."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I'll talk to
yeah.
my boys. You know, so
She
yeah,
she had
died-
red hair. She's a sweet lady. Didn't take any grief off.
Didn't take
anybody.
any grief. Yeah, she got sick in my senior year in high school and then died like 11 months later.
She had ovarian cancer.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
And then for ever since your mom was diagnosed with cancer, I associate ovarian cancer with death.
So do I. I always think ovarian or pancreatic
Yep.
is a death sentence. I don't know if you followed Alex Trebek's thing. I've always liked that guy. I've
Yeah.
always liked Jeopardy.
He had pancreatic.
He has it, and he's had it for a very long time, for like 2 years now, and that's usually like a 3 or 4 month death sentence.
Yeah.
So I'm pumped to hear that he's doing well. But yeah, my mother, it was so quick.
It was awful.
And ovarian is yeah, and you know it's funny that not funny, but like I hadn't been to MCV since my mother died 30 years ago, I guess, whatever, 1993, 27 years ago. And my father he's in rehab now, but he was at MCV for 3 weeks, and it was amazing, like taking the drive from Ashland down and then getting off on 64 East and then getting off on 3rd Street and then taking the exit and taking a left into the MCV. That's the way I used to go, man, 27 years ago to go visit my mother in the hospital. It was like the first time I did it, I was like, fuck.
Wow.
But it's just amazing that the parking structure is the exact same way. Like, it's the same way to get into it. But, I tell you, you brought up my mother, and she was an awesome mother.
I brought her up because I loved her.
Well, I appreciate that.
My mom loved her.
Yes, I know. I remember your mother made the pause for her casket, obviously. My mother loved yellow roses, and it was amazing. And I remember your mother coming into Reed Funeral Home and putting it on her casket and just losing it. I'm 46 years old, so 27 years I've lived my life without my mother, which is mind-boggling to me and my brother. But I feel like the 19 years that I lived with her definitely shaped my life and, made me. I'm not a porn star, not a drug user. I was just.
You were lucky to have her for 19 years.
I mean, I
Obviously.
wish. Maybe I was a fool. No, but like she was such a good mother, and she did such a good job of raising my brother and I that like the 19 years we had with her and the whatever many years my brother had with her, the 21 years was enough to make us good men.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're both good guys. Yeah.
Appreciate that. And it's just hard to believe that I've lived 27 years longer without her than I ever lived with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't want this podcast to go by without talking about your mom.
I appreciate that. I really do, Paul. And on the way out, it's funny. Maybe it was fitting, but John called.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he was talking. John's gotten into like making pizza dough and all that kind of stuff, and we're both into Legos.
John's your brother?
Yeah, like I'm a huge
John Lane. Yeah.
John Lane.
Great name.
It's a nickname. His name is actually Sidney Johnston Lane III, and I don't know that we can talk about that any longer because he's named after Albert Sidney Johnston, who was Lee's right-hand man in the Civil War.
Oh, goodness.
We're all sons of the Confederacy, which I guess you can cut this if you.
Yeah, it's fine. It is what it is.
I know it is. It is what it is. I'm not proud of it or whatever. But long story short, John is quite the baker now.
Really?
Yeah. So he was talking. Oh man, I made the best batch of pizza dough, and I'm like, John, I've got like this big fucking truck on my ass. I'm trying to figure out where I should turn for Paul's. He goes, hold on, let me just tell you. This is what I'm like, John. This was like 4 hours ago. I'm like, listen. So maybe after we're done here, maybe John should put him on speakerphone so you can say hi to him.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
And I'm sure he would like to say hi to you too, Daniel.
Oh, I appreciate that, man.
But yeah. So my thing is now, I don't know, we can be done here, but I'm I guess what's called an AFOL, adult fan of Legos. I've always been a Lego person,
Oh, no way.
but since the pandemic, I've put together about 7 or 8 sets. Probably spent no less than $5,000 on Legos.
Wow.
So
Probably less, but
what kind of sets do they have nowadays?
so I'm strictly Technic, which is the gears and I'm not a Star Wars guy. I'm not a architecture guy.
You're already drawn
like-
the line. You're in your alliance. You know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just what I enjoy, you know. Like all about gears and axles and functionality and like building like bulldozers and things like that.
You want things to move and function.
Correct.
Yeah.
So like,
Practical physics.
Are you pulling up a picture of one of your sweet?
I am.
Lego
I
masterpieces?
am. I'm such a nerd, but
All right, while you're pulling that up, quick question.
there's one right now.
Have you listened to any of our episodes?
That's like 25 pounds.
Damn. We'll make that the podcast picture.
No. Let me give you a better one then. Oh, Paul, I didn't know that you wore glasses.
Maybe we can get one with you with one of your Lego.
Be happy to.
I guess we have to go away from American Idiot because an idiot can't put that together.
Well, we haven't directions, but call me American Idiot or American Cousin / Idiot.
Yeah, that could work. Yeah, that could work. That's cool, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've put together like 7 or 8 sets since the pandemic, and then John and I were always into them as kids. So
I remember that. All right, so quick question we always ask, or do we want to go away?
Yeah, let's hit it.
you
Yeah.
said, have I watched any of yours?
We're listening to them. Yeah, yeah.
I haven't.
All
Sorry.
right, it's all good. Yeah.
Well, this will be a good one. This will be an interesting one. I don't know what you're going to say, but question we ask all our guests. You have
May I
something?
speak just real quick?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's not to say that I won't, because I want to listen, obviously, to Larry's. I want to listen to Gene's, and
Yeah.
I want to listen to Al's for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So I will.
That'd be great, man.
and we
just haven't. I had so much fun tonight that you guys are awesome to talk to.
There
So.
are probably 10 more that you'd want to listen to as well.
No, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Didn't
I
you-
appreciate.
Didn't do like a special forces guy or something.
We've done a Ranger.
That's special forces.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Mike, our
couple,
first one.
couple of Rangers, yeah.
Yeah.
Mike and Son.
I'm getting. Yeah, that's right. Twice Winter Ranger.
Badasses, huh?
Yeah, total badasses.
Definitely.
And I've also got a guy I grew up with, ended up being a Green Beret and a Richmond City police officer.
Fantastic.
But he's not coming on until things settle down a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. That's a tough job now, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that we are good conversation partners. So
No, absolutely.
I think
What's the
that's-
word? What's the word you used to
Oh,
say?
interlocutors.
Interlocutors.
Yeah.
I'll
So
have to look that up.
Yeah, it's a pretty big word.
the question we like to ask all our guests is, you know, if you were at the age of 25, or in your case, might even have been younger, and you didn't have any responsibilities, would you rather choose? Which of these two options would you choose? Joining the military, like signing up and enlisting, or taking a stab at a career in stand-up comedy?
Joining the military in a second.
Okay. Why?
Second.
Kind of.
Why?
Because if I can be honest, which I'd like to be, honest,
we would love-
honest,
we would
you-
love for you to be
typically
honest.
pronounce the H with a
Yeah,
honest.
you want to aspirate the age,
So,
right?
to be
Nice word,
honest,
dude.
To be honest, I can't stand stand-up comics.
Can't stand all of them.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, only
wait a
if you
minute,
made it. Like
all
Jerry
of them?
Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld is good. Maybe some of the ones, but
Chappelle.
but like open mic night.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Like if you don't, sorry, I just can't. I can't go to comedy night at the local fucking bar room. Pardon my language. So the answer is,
I did not see this coming.
Yeah.
I would much rather be in the
I
military.
had no. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's,
Dude, if I could have redone it, I would have absolutely taken a commission
yeah.
and maybe been kind of like my friend here, Paul. What'd you get out as Major General, or
Yeah, right.
did you make it to Major?
Lieutenant Colonel.
You made it to Lieutenant Colonel?
Yeah.
I didn't even think he made it to Major. I knew you did.
So, but
That's awesome. Like to make it to Lieutenant Colonel. Well, first of all, to make it to Major is incredible.
and that's one below
Lieutenant Colonel. Correct.
But by the end of Daniel's podcasting days with me, he will end up knowing all the rest.
By the
Well,
time
he
I'm
better
on my
be.
deathbed.
Well, no, you better be a
no, I refuse to tell him what
an
the right
Army
structure is.
officer. But like you get out of college as a second Louis, and then the first lieutenant, and then captain, and that's pretty quick. You know, if you're not a complete and total ass, that's pretty quick. And then captain to major takes forever. And then major to lieutenant colonel takes forever. And lieutenant colonel to colonel takes forever. And from colonel to general takes forever.
Yep.
Wow.
That's right.
Paul knows.
So you could have taken a commission after VMI?
I could have gone to jump school and gone to Fort Benning and been airborne. And I could have gone to summer camp and walked out of VMI on May 15th, 1996 as a second lieutenant. But I chose not to.
And you would take a commission if you could do it again?
Absolutely. In a second.
Even
If I knew that my route was going to be like career military.
right.
Not necessarily just get out at captain or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. I do feel like if you...
I get so much respect for the military. It's unreal.
Yep. Me too. It's really cool. It's one of my favorite parts of this podcast is Paul's got deep hooks in the military network, in the military community, and it's cool to talk to those people. But I do feel like you'd be good at comedy if you tried. Because I think that you have a natural humor. Maybe you're not like the open mic night, stand-up improv kind of guy, but I do get the sense, like I feel like it would...
Instead of the cage match, I feel like we should probably hug it out after this.
Oh, are we
Appreciate
getting
that.
to...
Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Words of affirmation, baby.
Oh, man. All right, so, Gray, you've been on a couple other podcasts, and this will be the last topic for the night. How did you end up being a guy from, essentially, Virginia, with roots in the South, moved to Boston, and then a couple Bostonians?
Radio. I used to be...
That's cool.
Yeah, I used to be into a lot of political talk radio, but I realized there was nothing I could do to change other people's views, so it just didn't make sense to...
You mean be into it, like listen to it a lot, or...
I listened to it a lot, and I would get angry at... and I'm not going to give my political beliefs away, but I think Paul knows them. I would get angry at things that I couldn't control, and I just decided to stop listening to it.
Yeah.
Like when you see people on Facebook like fighting about politics, that is the absolute definition of insanity.
Yeah.
What are you going to prove or fix? So long story short, this guy made it. A buddy of mine, he absolutely made it, and he was an on-air personality in Boston. Still is a lot. He was the editor of the editorial page of the Boston Herald.
Can we say his name?
Wow.
Sure, Thomas Shattuck. And he now is the editor of the Lowell Sun, which is a paper north of Boston. And Jerry Callahan, who is a famous sports guy, he's got his start with Sports Illustrated and then was an on-air personality for WEEI, which is the famous sports talk radio station in Boston.
Is that the one that Brady would talk to all the time?
Every Monday, yep.
Yep.
He had a show called Dennis and Callahan for years and years. Jerry has a podcast now that Tom's on all the time. But I was on Tom's podcast. Tom has one now called The Burn Barrel, which is a term that I built a burn barrel, and so did he, but he didn't steal that from me. He steals some of my terms and words, but that's all right. I think it's a term of endearment because he likes some of the things I say. But
Sure, yeah.
But Tom's brilliant. I know his family well. I know his brother, and he has a great podcast now called Burn Barrel. And he used to have a podcast called I Shoulda Did More Reading, which was he heard his son James, who is my little buddy, say it one time when they were at the library going in. He goes, I should have did more reading because his sister was going in to get a prize for reading the most books and James goes, I should have did more reading. Fantastic. So I was on one of those with our buddy Jay, and so it's fun, man. You know, it's like this was very, very, very easy to do because it's easy to talk talk about real stuff. And you guys were good facilitators, so I appreciate having me on.
Yeah.
And again, it probably is the least interesting one you guys have had, but
No, it's all good, man. We had fun talking to you.
Yeah, we really did.
We're glad you made it. Glad your dad's out of the hospital and rehab.
Yep.
he is. Yep.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll all work out and we can get our lives reestablished up in Massachusetts.
Yeah. Last thing, Brady is now a Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
Yeah.
Do you care about that?
Couldn't care less.
Okay, all right. Most people say could care less, and they mean couldn't care less.
Right. Well,
Glad you said
that's a Mandela effect.
Yeah, good
Or
point.
whatever. It's
Everybody
like-
says
it's
it
like
one way.
Everybody goes, I could care less. Well, that means you could actually care less.
Which means you care at least some.
Right.
Right. If I couldn't,
Yeah.
Yeah, we get
You
it.
understand.
The three of
Yeah.
us understand.
You-
yeah.
Yeah, you all get
Actually,
it.
could you draw it up?
we could do a little T accounts. That's an accounting term.
Oh, okay.
We've had enough accounting for this.
Right. So it was fun to be. It's funny when I moved to Boston, and just like I wrote on Tommy Haskins' Spider Pads, no fumble Haskins.
Yep.
You know, he didn't fumble the rest of the year. When I moved to Boston in 2001, they've gotten 13 or 14 world championships since I've been there, and hadn't had a single one before that.
Across all the sports, you mean?
Across all the sports,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You know, 6 Super Bowls, 2 World Series or 3 World Series, 1 Stanley Cup, and 1
NBA.
NBA title.
Yep.
And then for your sake, maybe Major League Soccer title. I don't know. But
Gray is referencing the fact that I'm wearing a soccer hat tonight.
Jesus, soccer, man. Let them use their hands once.
The goalie gets to use his hands. But anyway, we don't want to digress into the soccer.
No, I think that playing for the Patriots was I think basically what Bill Belichick wants is to coach without Tom Brady, and I think Tom Brady wants to play without Belichick.
I think they both want to win one without the other one.
Correct, and that's what it is, and neither one of them are going to.
I think you're right. Daniel's, you consider yourself from New Hampshire, right?
Well, that's my dad's family, and that's where
That's where your parents live now.
my parents live there, home base.
What
So,
part of New Hampshire?
Grantham, New Hampshire.
I know it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I used to have a little ski share house at Killington. For several years, I would go up there and ski every weekend at Killington.
Oh,
In fact, I
wow.
was the youngest
Oh.
ski patroller ever at Wintergreen. But we
Is
could
that
do
st-
another
is it-
podcast.
Is that still true?
No, who knows? That was
At the
probably
time.
40
At the
oh yeah,
time.
at the time.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was back in 1990 or 89 or 90.
Yeah.
You remember that? I remember that time that I was at Wintergreen and I was supposed to get you free tickets, and I saw you at the end of the day, and you looked at me like, "Fuck, are you?" It was you and your girlfriend there, who I Katie.
Ah, nice.
You remember Katie?
I do remember.
Do you remember Katie?
I did, yeah.
Girlfriend.
Just
And you were like, "Great, thanks for it." And I looked at Paul. I was in high school. I couldn't be held accountable for a whole lot of stuff. And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I was supposed to get you free tickets, wasn't I?" And you're like, "But he probably had to pay like $120 out of pocket."
yeah, and I was a college kid.
Yeah. You remember that? You remember that?
Yeah.
And I was like, and then I remember.
I'm still disappointed.
I probably went and drank beers with him that night in Ashland, but. So I guess to answer, I don't know about the Patriots.
You don't care about it.
You know what? This year with COVID, we haven't talked about that. Like, I've got zero interest in sports, man.
Yeah, I'm not really interested either.
I used to be a huge NASCAR guy. I'm a big baseball guy. I could have talked to Gene about baseball a lot. I'm a huge Yankees fan. My mother was a big Yankees fan.
Your mom's from Jersey.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And my grandfather worked in New York for years and years. The very first time I went to a baseball game was 1980 and saw Greg Nettles, and
Yes.
that's Greg, not Greg, and Willie Randolph and Reggie Jackson and I think Thurman was gone by then,
He was.
77, right? And then so I've always been a Yankees fan.
Yeah.
But I don't have any interest in sports this year. First of all, they're not playing it at the right time.
They're not playing with fans.
They're not playing with fans, and they've already said that the first 4 games at Gillette Field, which is where the Patriots play, the Gillette Stadium, that they're not going to have fans. So, like, I got no interest. I feel like it might have made more sense And I understand that, like, everybody always talks about sports being just a game that adult men play. It's not. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry across the board.
It's a business, yeah.
It's a business. But I almost think it makes more sense to have just
Said, we're not doing it.
We're not playing sports this year.
Yep. Probably right. Cool. Well, great.
Grantham, New Hampshire.
Yeah, Grantham, man. That's where the Lance family
Next time
is.
you're driving up, man. What's your last name, Daniel?
Lance.
L-A-N-T-Z?
A-N-T-Z. L-A-N-T-Z.
I put the A in there.
That's what he
I
said.
thought you said E.
He said it very quickly. So it's a Boston thing.
It must be a Boston thing.
I went to college with a guy named Jason Lance. I don't think he made it quite through. Maybe he's a distant relative of yours.
Could be. I don't know.
There are a lot of Lances out
He
there.
wasn't as handsome as you, so probably not.
So are you
Are you
saying?
two hugging at the end of this?
Are you
Of
saying that
course.
if I come up through Boston, you'll be there?
Absolutely.
Oh, no,
Anytime
he
anybody
would
comes-
love for you to come to Boston.
I would, man. We have a great little place 8 miles north of Boston. We redid our kitchen. We have a 105-year-old house. We redid our kitchen, and I'm in the middle, not in the middle, I'm almost done, building a 600-square-foot deck, which is absurd.
Wow.
It's pretty big.
But I had to come down here to Virginia, so I still got to do some work on the deck.
Yeah. Well,
Off air, I'll show you guys pictures.
it's always paradise going up north, summer or winter or spring. I mean, Grantham is like amazing, and so I get up there whenever I can. And sometimes the drive is too long, so if it's too long, I'll take you up on that.
So it's 8 miles. 8 hours from our house to here, and then I'll let you guys turn me off. But I grew up obviously here. We talked about that, and we go skiing at Killington, Vermont every year, and we would drive up to New England. So I've got an affinity for New England. Love it. It's beautiful up there.
It really is. Yeah. But yeah, we really appreciate.
You're invited too. You and your lovely family.
My son's in college now, so it'll just be 4 of us probably coming up.
Yeah, you and Lisa can come up and.
I've never taken my kids skiing.
Shout out to Zach, by the way. You know,
Zach's, he's in his second day at Virginia Tech.
the
All
first
right,
the
that's
first
good,
Gilman
man.
the first Gilman child is officially in college, man.
And
That's awesome.
He happens
That's-
to go to his dad's
Alma mater. That's right.
The rival. Granddad's alma mater. Dad's rival.
Right. Granddaddy went to was actually a member of the Corps. His dad was an elite UVA rugby road guy. St. Christopher and
Yeah, ruggedly handsome.
Yeah.
is what
He
we
was.
say typically.
you should have seen him.
Quarterback,
We'll take that off air.
point guard.
Yeah, and all around
Starting pitcher,
amazing,
whatever.
Amazing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
He was he was a walk on on the UVA baseball team.
I got caught actually. He would bring up
That's different. That's different than making it or getting cut. That's different.
cuts bad.
Cut. You didn't make
Cut-
it. I said he was a walk on. That's not right.
I
obviously.
tried. I walked on and they said, "Get the hell out of here." That's how that worked.
Did you try to play
see.
first or pitch?
Sure.
Why? That's the hardest position in baseball.
That was one of 3 scholarship positions at the time. Whatever. Great seeing you. We're going to stop the recording.
You too, Paul.
But I have a feeling we're going to talk a lot more shit after the recording stops.
Yeah, great. Awesome having you, man. Thanks for your time. and
It's
your
my pleasure,
conversation.
Daniel. Very nice to meet you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, man.
All right. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to subscribe through whichever app you're using. To share your thoughts, head over to our website at podso1.io, and there you can comment on episodes or send us feedback directly. Thanks for listening.